there's a lot of reasons to be hopeful. And I know it's easy to have a conversation like this and just pile on the doom and gloom, and it feels like, oh my goodness, the world is going to end or whatever. But there's a lot of moving parts in this puzzle, but there's a lot of good happening. I'll point like the work Tidelift is doing. You've got groups like the Sovereign Tech Fund over in Germany that are doing some amazing work right now. There's organizations starting to try to understand like what does open source look like? How is this working? The Atlantic Council released a report, I think last year, that talked about viewing open source as like infrastructure, as maybe like a natural resource, comparing it to roads and bridges or the water or whatever, things like that. There's so much research happening. There's so much conversation now happening around how can we kind of structure what we're trying to do in the open source universe in a way that is sustainable and helpful. And so it's not going to be fast. It's going to take a long time. I mean, the analogy I always use is the air brakes on trains. Before that, they had people would run around on the tops of trains to twist those wheels to turn the brakes on. And people died constantly. It was super unsafe, as you can imagine. It took 80 years from the invention of air brakes until people finally said, all right, we got to use these things. Like, this is ridiculous. So we can't expect, 2025 is a year of solving open source's problems. But the reality is, like, we're at least on the path. And that gives me a lot of hope. But I also recognize that we're not going to be measuring this in years. We're probably going to be measuring this in decades. So we also have to temper our expectations.